get started on the Goblin Chariot Rider today. So I've done a little bit of colour blocking. So the Gobbo and the Boars I've done in a neutral grey sort of colour just to get things started. But today we're going to start the actual detail painting. So I'm going to work on the metalwork first. So using an AK bronze colour. So that'll be the metal plating there. The chainmail I'll do in a different colour. It'll be more like in a gunmetal silvery sort of style. So, but things like the axes as well of the goblin and some of this metal banding, it's all going to be in this bronze colour. We'll go more for a medium. Maybe you'll do. Working on printing out a Indiana Jones model. So I've had some technical difficulties, some issues with the design and the printing it out. So I had a few failures and had to reprint parts and stuff like that. But we're getting there now. So that will be the next model I think that I'll work on. Always been a fan of the Indiana Jones movies, especially the first couple of movies. Some of them went off the rails at the end a bit, but always was a fan of the character. So I figure that will be a nice one to add to the collection. This gluing the boars to MDF has worked out way better than I expected it to. I thought I might have problems because I know you can't get MDF wet, like it doesn't handle it the same way that timber does, so I wasn't sure if glue would actually stick properly to it or if it would just kind of fall off, but the models seem to have been stuck quite well to it, so very happy with how it's gone. Probably do it again in the future if the need arises. I mean, pinning like I've pinned the goblin works well as well, but this obviously it's much easier to grab a hold of, and B, when you put it down it's very stable on the ground. So I've never done it before, obviously it's the first time, first trial, and seems to have worked out quite well. The goblin leg is going to end up pinned through the chariot, so it was just made sense to do it that way rather than like sticking his legs on MDF. But yeah, no, test has been successful. I haven't really done any research yet on colours, but you know, obviously I can just choose what I'm going to do with the metallics. That's no big deal. But I will look at pictures of wild boars before I start figuring out what kind of fur and skin colours I want him to have. And I'll also, even though it's a mythical sort of creature, not a real creature, I'll also look at pictures of goblins and kind of figure out what I want its skin tone to be, because I don't think I've ever painted a goblin before. So, you know, typically I do keep a bit of a journal of all my colours, and you know, if I'm going to paint a goblin and I've painted a goblin before, I'll just look up what colour did I paint it and kind of probably go with either that colour or something in the same kind of tone and range, depending on the model. But yeah, this is a first, so could go a grey sort of colour. Actually, I don't even mind the neutral grey that's on there, but could go a more sort of green tone, I guess. Or yeah, I'll do some research and see what has other people have used and make my decision. Oh, there's small. Oh yeah, there is too. It's cracked. I noticed the paint wasn't actually coming out. Oh, it was also clogged up, that's why. It's an old SIM ejector from an iPhone, but I find it also works quite well with cleaning up clogs. I'm guessing these dints are like arrows, because you know, obviously it's fantasy sort of setting, so they're not bullet holes. So I do have a colour called chainmail, but it's quite a light colour, so probably not going to use that for the chainmail, even though its name implies I should, but I think that's more for like knight's chainmail. Probably either a gunmetal. It's going to work well for this. Probably a gunmetal, I'd say. If I hear someone knocking at the door and have to turn everything off, we are expecting a plumber this morning. We had a unexpected leak under our kitchen sink yesterday, and phoned around and couldn't get anyone to come out yesterday, but one of those unexpected little dramas. Thankfully it's just a slow drip, it's not a massive pour of water, so didn't need to get buckets out, we just got an ice cream container. Of course you always wonder how much is that going to cost. Plumbers do like to charge. Sometimes feel like I should have got into a trade as a young guy, but oh well. You don't get that kind of wisdom until later in life when it's too late. Plus I'm sure it is also a reasonably physically demanding job. Not sure at my age I'd like to be doing that work, but we are chewing through the bronze. These kind of divots where the cross brace, I think, kind of fits or slots into place. I've taken the base out of the picture, like it's sitting up there, because I'm not actually going to paint most of it. I may paint the edge sides of it, having learnt from that crawler model how painful trying to get nice smooth edges on the bases, but on the top I'm probably going to use a Vallejo textured effect, like one of these muds or dark earth, something like that, is the plan, because I did have some issues with the base as well, and there's been a few printing issues of late, but anyway, with the base it's kind of half textured and half smooth, so but it doesn't matter because I'm going to use a textured effect. I'm not going to paint it anyway, so give it a muddy look, that it's a muddy field that the chariot is going through. I call it chariot because it's two wheels, I'm assuming that's right. It's definitely not a cart. so that's chainmail, but this is also metal, right? And those are leather straps. They're not metal, right? There's a bit of metal. But no, those are definitely leather. Okay. Try to make sure I paint the right thing. I think I'm going to swap to a more detailed brush. One of the settings that I had changed with the tree supports that I use to support my models, I'd changed it to a slim setting, which is designed to create smaller supports, less waste, easier to remove, all that sort of thing. But I just don't think it was providing enough support, and so it's probably part of the reason why I've had issues of late. So anyway, with the piece that I'm printing out now, I've actually changed the support settings back to the tree default, which is what it was on before, and we'll see if that's going to work better. Hopefully it is. There is a bit of a belt buckle underneath. Use the same metal colour, bronze, for that. Okay. There are some little studs that I'll do in this colour as well, but I'll paint the leather first and then you just do a little dab. It's easier that way. Do there properly. Let me just double check. Pretty much. Yeah, that's fine. Just second guessing myself for a second there. So this boar actually has small little tusks as well as the big tusks. They were different models, different designs, so it's not just the same boar printed twice. But for whatever reason, I think with the other boar, when I was removing the supports, it just wasn't secured properly and they just came off, because I didn't even really notice until I did remove the supports on this one and it had the second tusks. I'm like, hey, did the first one have that? I don't remember, and went to it and no, they're just not there. So different designs reacting differently to the supports, I guess. We are churning through the bronze. so that's the boar's done. There was just a buckle. Alright, now on this guy, maybe I won't even take it off. Is there anything other? Oh yeah, there's that one as well. Maybe I will. Go back to the bigger brush. Okay, so that's like a leather wrap, and there's like wood. So that looks like a leather wrap there. It's kind of not great for detail, but that's what I'm going to go with. So I'll do the end hard as metal. I actually don't mind this rough textured side. I mean, you see the other side, it's very smooth. This side obviously was face down and had the supports touching it, and it's kind of roughed it all up. But it just, to me, it kind of looks like the way it was manufactured was kind of backyard dodgy sort of manufacturer, so you know, perfect for a goblin in other words, so I really don't mind it. So I've also got these knee pads which look quite metallic. I think I'll do those, but let's do the sword. The big brush, and then we'll do those with the small brush to try and not get too much going everywhere. do like the design of the sword. It's got all these nicks in it. I didn't make those. That's the way the sword was. I think it looks pretty good. A small brush. Okie doke. Excellent sword. I have to buy a backup of that soon with the rate I'm going. Okay, that looks alright. Do I want to do that buckle now? Oh, I guess I'll just... I'll need to redo it. But get it started. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, there's big buckles at the back. Okay. Okay, that just gets it started. Can't worry about those dots for the rivets. I'll do that later. So let's just get this legging done and then we can move on to the chariot. Alrighty, that will do for him. So, how are we going to do this? There's one in there. I'll just walk around from the sides, I guess. Small or big? Big seems alright. It's a fairly defined area. Yeah, that seems okay. Now these wheel ends are metal as well, so I guess I'll be fine to paint anything except the bottom, and then I'll have to paint the bottom at a later time. Can't imagine it would be very comfortable to be riding in a metal wheeled chariot, but that seems to be the design of it. Obviously, goblins do not design things for comfort. I mean, seriously, metal wheels, that's gonna cause some issues. Okay. And lots of skulls, and this will be like an ivory sort of colour, like tusks, and they got lots of bones. I like decorating, that's pretty cool, you got to respect that. In their own grisly sort of way. Similar to the axe head, I mean, for obvious reasons, when I printed the chariot wheels, I had that as the bottom and the part that you see facing up. That's pretty much a no-brainer, but it does mean that the definition of the bottom isn't quite as good as the definition of the outside of the wheel, so just going to estimate the rim of the metal. Is that metal? No, I don't think so. That's metal. I debated whether I'd put the wheels on or paint things first and then put the wheels on. It's kind of a no-win situation really. There's issues either way, but in hindsight maybe it might have been easier if I had left the wheels off. I'm happy with the colour. I think it's going to work pretty good with the dark brown. Of the wood. Grab there. Where can I grab? The design of the chariot had several arrows stuck into it. I think there was one in the skull as well. It was a little bit sticking out, but thin arrows are just very problematic to print out and support, because when you tend to take the support off, if it's such a flimsy item, you tend to rip the item off. So I even tried to print a few arrows laying flat on the print bed and then stick them on, but it just was going to be very problematic. And to be honest, I think the design is busy enough with all the horns and bones and big wooden spikes, which obviously these have no issues whatsoever with printing out. So yeah, in the end I just decided it was too problematic to run with the arrows of the design, and I left them out. I don't think it really detracts much from the final product. Like, I think it's busy enough as it is and has enough interesting characters into it that it didn't really need the arrows. You know, some of these digital designs, they look amazing, but some of it just isn't practical to print. Like my friend that's really into Warhammer, he was showing me recently a new Games Workshop model that they've released. I forget what the character was, but it was this long, wispy sort of creature, and I just looked at it and went, yeah, it looks really cool, it's fun, but I just would be a nightmare to try and reproduce something similar. Quite often you'll get digital designers that will copy stuff like that, and you can buy it online if you so desire. But I just looked at that and I went, wow, no. It does kind of make me wonder if, not just Games Workshop, but model places like that in general design at least some of their stuff these days to be hard to 3D print, because obviously it's their business model is selling models to people, and designers that then come in and kind of copy and replicate it and sell 3D models of it is attacking their business model. So, you know, just kind of makes sense, I guess, that they would try and fight that with producing stuff that was hard to replicate. My hands are cramping up a bit holding all that, so I think I will leave it there.